On Abbas Hussain here from FightHype.com, and Frank, you know what, today is a beautiful day and we're here at a beautiful place looking behind Birth House. Talk to me about the settings first of all.
Well, they're beautiful. This is Bill's garden, that's his house over there, and we're all going to go for a cup of tea afterwards then. Now, this is a beautiful place. This is Nebworth House, very historical place in Hertfordshire, and it's been the scene of some really fantastic rock concerts over the years.
Obviously we're here in Stevenage talking about Billy Joe Saunders' world title shot against Isufi. Let's talk about the situation with the WBO. You were waiting for Ramirez to...
No, he's vacated.
You were waiting and then he vacated. So it's fallen into your hands. It seems that there's a plan for Billy Joe now that needs to be stuck by, because Billy Joe's had a lot of stutters in his career. What's the sort of plan going forward?
Well, the plan going forward, obviously he's got to win the fight and win the title. And I was looking at the two of them standing head to head, and he's much bigger than Bill. He's obviously a big man. He fought at cruiserweight, light heavyweight, and he's now fighting at super middleweight, Isufi. And you know, I was quite surprised at the physical difference between the size of them. But Bill's got to overcome that, and I'm hoping and sure that he will. And if he does that, then he's in a position where he's got a title and he's got a seat at the big table again.
Frank, talk to me about your frustrations, not with Billy Joe's career, but in the sense of getting that opponent that you need for Billy Joe. We know that Billy Joe's fought on David Lemieux, he fought Chris Eubank Jr. earlier on in his career, and Andy Lee. But the big fighters that you wanted, and I think every fan wanted, was the Canelo-Golovkin fights. Looking forward, there's also Callum Smith and these sort of fights. But talk to me about the frustration of not getting that big opponent for Billy Joe.
When he's fighting middleweight, there was massive frustration. You know, I've said it a million times. We signed 2 contracts to fight Golovkin, but they never signed them, sent back, so that was twice that fell apart. Canelo just doesn't want to know, and I spoke to Joe Gallagher recently, a few weeks ago, asking about if Bill was to win, would he want to make a unification match with Callum straight after. He said he's got a fight in June. I said, well, let's do it sort of in late autumn or November or something, and he said that they've got their next 2 fights sorted out, but let's try and do it next year. Well, Callum Smith is not going to be a super middleweight next year. We all know that, and Bill is just coming up to the weight. So I don't think Joe fancies the fight, and I hopefully he'll prove me wrong. As for Eubanks, well, I mean, that's just a flogging a dead horse, isn't it? He's had plenty of opportunities to make the fight, and the fact he's never done it, he's never tried to eradicate that loss on his record, says more about him than I can.
And obviously with the sort of Canelo and Golovkin situation, they're both with DAZN, and I know you've let Billy Joe, you let Billy Joe go out fight and draw there before the situation occurred. But if that situation was to happen and them fights were to come again, would you let Billy Joe go over?
It depends what the terms are. I've never stopped. I mean, one thing no one can ever accuse us of standing in the way of our fighters in a big fight. If they want it and I feel it's right for them, then I have no problem with that. We want the fights. I mean, I don't know what more we could do other than try and force the issue that we've done on many occasions. Billy Joe Saunders is a fighting man. He'll fight anybody.
I want to talk to you about the sort of heavyweight situation. Dillian Whyte was on TalkSport recently, and he spoke about the Tyson Fury situation, and he sort of said Tyson Fury is not a fighting man because he is fighting Tom Schwartz and not Deontay Wilder. How would you want to respond back to that?
Well, that's just a stupid statement to make. Deontay, I've only met him briefly a few times. That's the most ridiculous statement. Tyson Fury is not a fighting man. I thought he was the fellow who went to Germany and fought Klitschko in the other guy's backyard, Klitschko who was the best heavyweight in the world at the time, and beat him. Tyson Fury is not a fighting man. He went off to the States and fought against Deontay Wilder and got robbed. He's not a fighting man. What more has he got to do? Let's go to Deontay. Deontay had a couple of names like that on his record. Then he'd be in a position to actually, maybe in that statement could be considered, but he hasn't got any fighters of that ilk on his record. So until he does, I think he's best keeping his thoughts to himself.
Talking about Deontay Wilder, he's fighting this weekend, and he's had a lot of sort of media attention because of the fact that he's actually said that even this week, he said that he wants a body on his record, meaning that it's a bit. I'm not sure.
I haven't seen the interview, and I don't know what context he made it. I've met him quite a few times, and I like him. I think he's a nice guy. If he if it was meant to have, people are taking it, then it's a crass and stupid thing to say, and I'm sure he regrets it. Hopefully it's been misinterpreted, and if that's the case, then it's been misinterpreted. I'm quite sure he never meant that anyway. People, fight week, fighters are on edge. Sometimes they say silly things, and if that is the case, I'm sure he regrets saying it.
Another great fight that you made that was announced about 2-3 days ago was Leon Woodstock and Zelfa Barrett on the Warrington versus Galahad undercard. Talk to me about that.
Well, it's a cracking fight. These guys are both stepping up to the plate. They both think they've got the beating of each other. It's a really sexy division in Britain. We've got most of the guys who matter in that division are being promoted by us, and we're putting the fights together to find out who's the best. That's what we said we're going to do, and that's what we're doing, and that's to the benefit of the fans. We've made some really cracking fights over the last few months, and I think it's the best run of shows for a long time we've seen in this country, featuring good 50-50 matches.
And I know with the Galahad fight, when it got announced, it wasn't a fight that you wanted, but it was a situation that occurred that had to happen. But if you say Warrington beats Galahad, there seems to be a lot of fights in America for Warrington. Is that the sort of next steps for Warrington?
Well, it depends. It depends who the fighters are. If we can make a unification match, we'll make it. I'd prefer to make him in the UK. He's another fighter. I don't think he has any problem going anywhere. He's a fighting man, and he's not done it the easy way. He's done it the hard way. He's become sort of an unfashionable fighter who's beaten everybody he's put in front of him. Not just beaten them, he's beaten them in style, and now he's the man.
A name that comes to mind is Oscar Valdez, obviously someone that's with top rank, as somebody and with top rank you do a lot of work with. So would that be something that you guys have already looked at?
We'd love to make that fight. Carl's going out to the States soon and making his debut, and he may fight Valdez, I don't know. But if he does, and if he was to beat Valdez, or Valdez beats him, whoever that is, and Josh comes through his fight, what a fantastic situation that the winners fight each other.
And just finally, obviously, we know that there's a lot of work going with your fighters and sort of top rank Bob Arum. There's been a lot of link-ups of recent times. Have you guys ever discussed a sort of Queensberry promotion versus top rank cards?
Yeah, funny, we did have that conversation when he was over last, so that's something we're looking at. So who knows, we'll see if something comes up from that.
So there's something potentially in the pipeline?
It would be great. If it suits the boxers and more importantly suits the fans, we'd love to do it.
Frank, thank you very much for talking to FightHype.com. I appreciate that. Thank you.